from their encounters with races from other planets. The information is the activation. Let's awaken this world together. We are the forever students, and we will not be silent. We are the ones that we've been waiting for. It's pretty wild. Ooh, welcome everybody to Full Spectrum Universe. My name is Rob Yox with the Embattled broadcast from the beautiful state of New York. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Tonight is part 2 of the Astral Realm and Dreamtime. Good evening to everybody who's in the audience tonight. I see we've got Nancy, we've got Line, we've got Tell, and we've got Michael in the audience. Thank you all for joining us tonight. We're going to be going over a lot tonight, so let's buckle up. There is so much going on right now, especially in the world as a whole. Energetics are up and down. Everybody's feeling it. I know they are. We have a lot to go over tonight. Tonight, we're going to be talking a little bit about, I changed the lineup of how we're going to present this, right? When Ronnie's here as well. What's going on, Ronnie? I'm changing the lineup a little bit of how we present this. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the techniques to get to the higher levels as well as the higher levels themselves. The next episode will be the entities that reside within the astral realm. And the episode after that will be Dreamtime. If I feel there's any need to add more to it, we will add more accordingly. So this is going to be a multi-parter. This is only part 2, but I appreciate y'all for being here. I see Sugar Bee is here. Lisa's here. Jay Zen is here. Everybody is here. The whole FSU or Forever Student family is here. Boba is here as well. Hello from Croatia. Very awesome. Very awesome. We are reaching consciousness worldwide. We are a collective, and we will be projecting our collectiveness out into the world to bring the world together as a whole. So we're going to start with my opening salvo. Usually I pull up a slide for that, but tonight I'm not going to, right? The first thing I'm going to say with this opening salvo tonight is, I see Selena's here as well. Hello, Selena. What are we doing here, right? What exactly are we doing with this show, with this information? What are we doing? Why are we doing this, right? Well, that's for you to answer, but I'm going to tell you my answer to that question. My answer is, when we understand the paradigm that we call reality, as well as the waking world and the unawakened world, we get to reside within the now just a little bit more, right? We get to stop and smell the roses, metaphorically, but also literally. Also, some of the things that are tasked to us throughout the day do not seem so mundane anymore when we stop and take a look around. When we have the ability to interpret our reality around us, that also compounds the ability for discernment. When we compound the ability for discernment, we get to dictate what comes next. And that's truly what we're doing with this show. We're breaking down information. We're going into so much of the deeper energetics of the world, more so the unseen world than the world that we see. And when we do that, we have the ability to not only sense the world around us, but to see the world around us, hear the world around us, feel the world around us. And when we do take that moment to stop and smell those roses, it becomes more profound with each moment. And our connection to that profoundness that resides all around us is truly, truly what makes us a little bit different than the 9 to 5, routine normies, as we call them, or the people who are yet asleep. We have the ability to stop, look around us, smile, and feel the energy flowing. And when we feel that energy flowing, it brings a great sense of gratitude, and usefulness in the days to come is beyond measure. But that gratitude keeps us in a space of love. And when we're in that space of love, it connects to others around us, and then they become a parent to that love. And when they become a parent to that love, they enjoy that embrace that love gives to them. So it's a domino effect. And this is why we do what we do. This is why I do what I do, is so we can perceive that love at every avenue, at every instance, in every millisecond, to every hour, to every day, to every year. It's all relative, right? So this is what I'm asking everybody to do tonight. Stay in that space of love. Let's all be conduits to resonate that love and send it back out there. So when we send it back out there, hopefully the universe returns even more of that gratitude and love back to us. So when we start to go into the techniques tonight, we're going to talk about different ways to sort of meditate and to get into that space that allows us to get to those higher levels. To get to those higher levels, you must. It is not a possibly. It is you must be coming from that space of love. You will not be granted access into these areas. We're going to talk about how we meditate when we talk about techniques. I'm going to tell you my ways of getting into that zero state as well when we get into that moment, because that is one of the most important things, is to be able to alleviate the stresses of that 9 to 5, to be in these areas that we're going to talk about tonight, right? So we're going to talk about the higher levels. But before we talk about the higher levels, there was one level that we didn't talk about last night, and that's part of the lower levels, right? So let's dive into this right away. As we see, we've talked about the real life astral regions, the places that mimic the waking world, right? To put it bluntly or softly. But there are also pockets of place in this astral realm where it's just a void. And people say, well, that could be darkness. It's not a good or bad thing. It is just a place of preparation before we enter into exactly where we want to go. Sometimes these voids will be in between astral realms or astral spaces, like the rainbow level or the spiritual level, which we're going to talk about in a little while. These voids are all over the place. So these are dimensional gaps, commonly called voids, and they're found around the astral plane. They're totally dark and featureless empty areas. Void areas appear to contain absolutely nothing and are thus not in any way dangerous. Entering a void area causes total sensory deprivation in a projector. It's a quiet blackness with no sensory input. Void areas, according to some versions of esoteric theory, lead to more abstract, casual, and transcendental dimensional levels beyond the astral planes. Many reasons have been given for the occurrence of the void, but by its nature, it is difficult to observe and analyze a void itself, let alone try to understand its nature, its natural place in the scheme of all those that reside on the astral plane. Voids are areas that appear to be null dimensional areas containing no subjective or objective structure whatsoever. It is possible that voids lie completely outside the normal dimensional structure, something like black holes in the physical universe. One thing I could tell you about the voids is to not be scared if you find yourself floating in a void during a projection. There is quite literally nothing to be scared of. I don't know how deliberately to, or how to deliberately enter a void dimension or dimensional area. It's just something that happens occasionally. It, it's not something that to be overly concerned about either. It is possible that these voids themselves are out of body experiences, simply problems with your astral vision. So that sends you to that place. Many people have problems perceiving the out of body environment. An environment problem could, therefore, cause the total out of body experience blindness, leading to the projector to perceive the area as being void itself. Three ways to project out of a void area that occasionally work. Sometimes you can't get out of that voided area. And then when that happens, you shut down your projection and try again at a later date or a different time later on that day. But what you have to do is try looking at your hands and watching them melt, right? Feel for your physical body and try projecting back near to it. Imagine another place and project there using the instant projection methods. These methods will often take a projector to somewhere brighter and more tangible. If they fail, simply relax and enjoy it. Personally, I find the void areas a wonderful place for introspection, meditation, and prayer. Nothing will disturb you while you're suspended within the void. So, void areas are not something to be, you know, essentially frowned upon. Thank you, Omar. You are the best. My man Omar coming through. I am so excited for him and his near future. He has so much going on and it's tremendous. You are a forever student, forever, forever. You're my confidant, you're my amigo, you're my sweet cheese, you're my broski from another Moski. You know what I mean? So let us keep going. We're talking about a little bit of a review of the astral plane and the tube structures, right? This is how we see or perceive the astral realm as we get to it. This is the outside of the astral realm, getting us or our transit way into the astral realm, right? We talked about the checkerboard style flat surface, which will have symbols that only you can perceive to basically dive into certain points within the astral realm. But there's also that tube like structure, which many people actually say that they see upon an out of body experience or when they're passing into that transitional period, right? A lot of what we know is the astral realm and afterlife or a transfer of consciousness to the afterlife are very much similar and connected in so many different ways. So the as we advance our ability to get about in the real time zone areas and around the first levels of the astral plane, you begin to see a definite structure at the start of the astral plane projections. These structures mark the entrance of different astral planes and subplanes and can be used for astral plane navigation. The geometry, colors, and patterns of the astral plane entrance structure, I personally believe, represents its internal subplanes, realms, and kingdoms in an abstract visual way. So projectors can perceive two basic types of structures when they enter the astral plane through their surfaces. Now, these are two basic ones. There are an infinite number of structures to bring you to the astral plane. I am touching on the two that I see most often. So, if you have something that is relatively different than what I'm talking about, it doesn't mean that that's not where you're going. This is all up to the projector, right? So I'm giving you my account of it. And when I give you my account, hopefully it relates to your account. But if it doesn't, so be it. Well, all of our perspectives or perspective angles of entry are different, right? So the two types of structures that we have, again, is well, I'm not. I thought I made a slide for those, but guess not. So, uh, is a flat two-dimensional plane of infinite proportions, usually the first seen as if from a great height, with the plane's surface seen below, extending to all horizons. The surface is covered in a thin, black, neatly spaced horizontal and vertical grid lines, much like the grid lines of the ley lines, right? This is making a almost like a chessboard appearance. These grid lines outline squares that cover the entire surface. Each square contains a single identical multicolored geometric pattern repeated endlessly in every square. So that was again the flat surface, right? So then we also have the tube type structure, which you're seeing here in front of you. It's a more complex tunnel or tube like structure containing internal grid lines and geometric patterns, often brightly colored. And the grid lines and patterns are internal, thus, are not easily viewed in their entirety, as with the astral plane type of entrance and structure, like we just talked about. Projectors also usually hear a rushing sound, musical notes, tones, and other sounds as they move through an astral tube. These sounds are, I believe, part of the obviously more complex astral tube structure itself. And moving through a tube usually produces a rushing sound, so it could be your perception giving auditory sensory to something that could be there or could not be there. We're not really sure. And each exit point passed often produces a change in sound or tone and melodies or a series of complex musical notes. So, again, this is an overview of the last ones, right? So, with that being said, now we're going to get to something that is absolutely important, right? Well, if you've experienced riding a speed train, that's very similar to the tunnel itself, right? Those trains ride through tunnels, or you're riding that bullet train through the landscape to essentially pick your point of entry. Next, we're going to be talking about the astral plane navigation. This is one of the, I would say, one of the more important areas to familiarize yourself with. And again, everything I'm saying tonight is subjective to the beholder. Everything can be changed or slightly off to what I'm talking about based on how the projector perceives themselves within that reality, right? Or within that astral plane. So all I'm doing is recanting my versions of what I see. So you can break it down and take it as you will, again, and use it to your enhancement while in these levels, right? So a fairly reliable way to navigate with the astral plane type entrance structure is to use the surface pattern as a guide. There's a direct relationship between the individual parts of this design and the internal parts, subplanes, and realms within. The point of entry defines exactly where you will appear. Therefore, if you remember the exact point of entry and note it in it for the journey after, which each projection can do, you can return to a given astral realm or kingdom again and again and again during future projections. With a little experimentation, you could develop an astral map for that astral plane. The comers of each square contain small but distinct dots and splashes of color that look like yellow, green, orange, or red paint. Each of these appears to be an entry point into a specific internal realm or kingdom. As with all astral entrance structures, different projectors will experience slight differences peculiarly to them due to the slight variations in their energetic angles of perception. But astral planes and their entrance structures are dimensionally solid and consistent structures and will be found to be within each description. When I say description, I mean within each square or within each tunnel. It's not necessary to perceive an astral entrance structure in order to enter realms and move again or among through them. Although this obviously is a far more accurate way of navigating, most people will find that they can project directly into the astral realm without too much trouble, bypassing any kind of entrance structure entirely. This can be likened to taking mystery flights. Every projection has them, right? There are many ways to get into the astral realm and to move from one astral realm to another. These all cause dimensional shifts, moving the projector into an astral realm or to another astral location. This is basically saying that when you perceive a different area and you're in one area, you can instantly be teleported to that area. It is the bounds of physics no longer apply where you have to travel by foot 700 miles in one direction to get to the next border, right? You can just instantly be there with a thought, much like you see in a lot of different places. Imagine a place you'd like to be. This is basically instant travel, right? And then you can essentially travel somewhere else. And don't be afraid to imagine a fantasy destination, right? Raise your energy level by drawing more energy from your physical slash etherical body. Feel yourself sucking and drawing energy into your projection body. As you do this, as you do it, feel your vibration increasing, right? Feel yourself buzzing and humming all over with power, increasing in intensity and pitch, while feeling yourself growing lighter and rising. Feel yourself rising and shifting into the astral planes. This is how you sort of put your imagination into work while navigating. You can fly as fast as you can, aiming midday between the horizon and straight up, while reaching out and feeling the star filled galaxy ahead of you. Will, imagine, and feel yourself shooting through the stars at hyperspeed. Walk into a mirror, picture, or TV screen, as per virtual reality projection techniques. Use this as a staging area and fly in one direction until you find yourself in an astral realm, right? This is what a lot of these different things are, ways to kind of get yourself into this mode. So look at your hands and watch them melt away, like we talked about before, until they're completely gone. Your subconscious mind will have trouble accepting this, which will cause a dimensional shift, transporting you into an astral realm. This can be used for shifting to another realm. Another way to do that is to spin around fast as you can and attempt to disorient yourself. This will often cause a dimensional shift and move you into an additional astral realm and cause a shift to another realm after that. So, these are just some of the ways to navigate through the astral realm. We're all projections, just like Omar says. We are the projectors and we are all projections, right? We see the Andromeda says he imagines living in Star Wars. This will bring about a Star Wars like theme to his astral template, right? And he'll interact. And here's one of the things I like to say too, and I'm going to bring it back to me for a second. When you're interacting with your astral realm, per se, or astral projections around you, you can essentially draw from them information, and that information is not going to be so apparent as you reading something and then there it is, boom. There could be hidden meaning behind everything, the way the landscape looks, the color of the landscape, the way the clouds are formating. There is messaging in the entirety of that astral realm. To find that messaging, all it takes is your imagination and your ability to problem solve and really critical think about what it could potentially mean. Thank you again, Omar. Thank you so much for another super sticker. You are absolutely the greatest. All proceeds go back into what we're doing here and creating more spaces for us to be able to project ourselves and help create the world around us into a better place, right? So this is what we're looking at. When I was myself, again, I keep saying myself because I want you to know some of these thoughts are my thoughts. It's not just the research. When I was going back to look at my lifetime within Atlantis, I used astral projection to give my subconscious the space to recreate exactly what it was like during that lifetime for me. So I could relive it and I could literally be in the thick of it as it was all going down. Right. And Omar saying that he usually sees people. In the last episode, the question I have for you, Omar, is are these people doing tasks? Are they talking to themselves? And if so, what's going on around them? Do you interact with them? Because a lot of these people that we see that are potentially half asleep, right? They essentially are in and out of the realm of the astral realm itself, and they're doing these mundane routines. And then when you interact with them, they sort of wake up to where they are. And sometimes they'll disappear immediately because they don't really understand what's going on. And this is why the dreaming the layers of the astral realm, which are the dreaming realms, are a bit different than the projection realms, right? But they're very similarly situated, and one can glide into one without the other, right? I think they're on Earth. I don't interact with anything. That's the observer mode, right? You go into observer mode. I've done that as well, and that's absolutely fascinating to see everything around you start to, come apart or come together and then watch and just kind of perceive everything around you. It's incredible. It's incredible. Let's keep going though, because the next area is one of the areas that I like to, really dive into. And this is going to be the higher level projections, right? Now, the higher level projections or the higher dimensions are similar in structure to the astral dimensions, but exist at a much higher level at levels or vibrations of consciousness. Like the astral dimension, each is a completely separate dimensional area. And although all can be said to occupy the same space, right? Between each level is an intermediary area or a buffer zone, similar to the color tinted buffer zones that divide the major planes of the astral dimension, but wider and harder to traverse. Each major level of consciousness corresponds with a particular dimension, and each has a subtle body to match it. Higher levels become progressively more abstract and complex in nature, as do the levels of consciousness associated with them. We all reflect to a greater or lesser extent an energetic facet of ourselves, and this facet into all of the higher dimensions and levels of consciousness at all times. Just as an aspect of our astral body is constantly reflected into an astral dimension. The strength of these reflections and their effect on the inner and outer realities depends greatly on the energetic development, intellect, spirituality, and natural potential of the individual, right? So there's a lot here. We're going to keep going because now we're going to get into some techniques. And then we're going to talk about the higher levels experience too, which is sort of what happens when we get there, right? So well, I was already on the right slide. Sorry. Tonight's a little bit of a roughshod episode, guys. We're going to be all over the place, so just bear with us. So, to project into a higher level, aspiring projectors must first raise their energetic value to harmonize with that level. This is best done before the exit, but can also be done during a projection and can happen spontaneously. The most effective way of reaching those higher levels, bearing natural ability, is through the practice of consciousness raising meditation, energetic development, and other related spiritual practices. The generation of high level projectable double is affected by the level of consciousness. The active configuration of primary energy centers and by the quality of energies that they produce. The higher body generation process is therefore limited by the projection's mechanisms or abilities to generate the energetic qualities required. So, projecting consciousness into the levels higher than the mid to high astral, say past the high fifth and lower sixth astral plane, takes either a high level of skill and development or strong natural ability or both. A projector usually needs to be proficient at both consciousness raising and energetic stimulation to do this. There are, however, ways to achieve this that take advantage of latent natural ability. Ideally, an inspiring high level projector needs some experience with projection. However, it is possible to begin right here and use the following procedures as standalone projection technique, and if failed at projection, using other methods. But try this. It may suit you and work better even for the first projection attempt. So we're going to go over these. So if you need time to get a pen and paper, I will give you a moment to get a pen and paper, but this episode will always be up. You can always go back and listen. There are just a few techniques that I picked up from different styles of meditation, essentially to conglomerate them all to give you all of it. And then after we state this, I'm going to tell you, well, maybe I'll start with telling you how I get into my meditation first. And that is truly not so much different, but thank you, Discog, another member. I appreciate the hell out of all of you. I appreciate you. So I'm going to bring it back to me real quick. And while people take time to get, if a pen and pad if they need it or not, what I do for a meditation and to get into my 0 point. First, of course, I close my eyes. I take a lot of deep breathing. Deep breathing is one of the practices that they'll always teach you first. You must breathe in a pattern. You exhale, hold, in, hold, exhale, hold, in, hold. Then you start to visualize things. And the first thing I do is I visualize my center, my energy center, the heart chakra. And from that, I essentially think of a great bright white light and I let it emanate all over my body. until it completely covers me or encapsulates me. This keeps me safe from anything and everything that could potentially try and get near me while in meditation. Then I focus on my feet and my hands. And then I focus my energy on planting as if roots were coming out of me, grounding them into the earth, which keeps my physical body here, right? And keeps it grounded. And I have those tentacles that go down into the earth and take root, and they stay there, right? So that's where I start. Then I focus again on my breathing. After I focus on my breathing, I start to literally rationalize each portion of my body coming to a specific resting point, which means I'll be closed, I'll keep breathing. And then I'll think of my feet, and I'll think of my feet as completely relaxed and let them sort of fall away. And then my legs, then my knees, then I work up to my hips, and so on and so forth in any procession that I need to until my entire body is relaxed. And then from there, once I have everything relaxed, I focused on the distance and I focus on what's in front of me and I try and look at what's in between the two. And this brings me to my place to where I can either see a tunnel or a grid. And from there is where I start to astral travel. So, right now, we're going to go over a couple more techniques that can potentially help you once you get into that meditation state. So, first and foremost, we're going to you're going to stimulate your feet and hands, and you're going to use your full body circuit for 10 minutes and let the energy go up and down and around you, right? You're going to see the energy just ricocheting off the inside of your body. You're going to use deep physical relaxation techniques and attain a full trance state. Another one is to stimulate all primary energy centers. Another one is use the extra brow and crown center stimulation exercises. You can find those all over the place. You're going to raise your energy through your whole body, including your arms, and up through all primary centers in one smooth action to the crown center. On the in breath, you're going to hold awareness in the crown center and feel energy flowing into there all through the in breath, right? And then all through again on the out breath. Flick the awareness back to the feet and repeat at the start of the next in breath. This exercise is designed to draw and accumulate energy in the brow and crown centers. Continue the above exercise for at least 10 minutes until you start to see colors basically surfacing, right? Or tinting your vision behind your closed eyelids. Purple is the best color to see for this, but any primary color is a good sign. If you see nothing, continue with the next part of this exercise anyway. Using your body awareness, generate a continual sound in your heart center. Imagine it and feel it grow stronger and stronger in your heart. Once this is established, slowly move this awareness sound up to the throat center and from there up to the brow and finally spreading to the crown center. This is a fairly deep tone as if vibrated softly in the back of a mature man's throat. Feeling it hum there, let this spread and fill your entire head. This sound may continue on its own accord, even spread through your entire body, or it may not, right? If you can hold this tone without too much effort, try to continue it throughout this whole projection attempt. And if this part is too difficult, try to hold the sound in either your throat or brow center only, whichever is easiest. Just do the best you can with a few minutes, right? Then proceed to the next part of the exercise. From behind your closed eyelids, look for a distant point of light or a small pattern of light that is brighter than any other you can see. This may appear as a tiny dot or a star or a multicolored structure or even as a geometrical pattern. It may also appear as a distant scene, single or multicolored, as if through the wrong end of a telescope. Gently lock onto this specific scene and hold this target firmly in your mind's eye. This is what I was talking about, the far and wide, right? The close point, the far point, finding it in between. Shift your awareness and toward and into the target and feel yourself moving towards it. Feel yourself as being there already inside it. Imagine and feel a strong spiritual love connection with that target. Love the target and want to be there with all your heart and soul. Use the point shift technique at this point and feel yourself moving directly towards the target. Now rope or other projection techniques can be added as an alternative necessary. It's basically where you see it as a rope and you're pulling yourself towards it, right? If the above method cannot be made to work, I suggest that the secondary full body circuit be used and do it for like a half hour, right? And it kind of steps up as you keep going. And basically, once you do it for long enough, it's necessary to provide the quality of energies required for high level projection. And at any time during the above process, your brow center starts to strobe. You'll see heavy flashing of bright silver white light in your mind's eye. Goes straight to steps like we talked about 8 and 9 before, which is coming up down the line, right? And you can basically complete the projection. When you succeed at the projection using this specific method, you may experience any of the normal variety of projection related sensations, or you may feel none at all. And you just find yourself instantly there inside of your target. This method will always cause a higher level of projection than would otherwise be possible. And usually, myself, I feel a moment of disorientation or a brief upward falling sensation as a flash of light at my brow center starts to strobe, and then suddenly I appear wherever it is that I'm going. So this is it's a couple different ways. Thank you, Johnny. You guys are the best. We're gonna do a group meditation for sure, but that's why I wanted to go over some of this stuff so we have some technique when we go into that group meditation, because it's not just a meditation. It is a it's going to be a collective meditation, right? And what we're going to do is we're going to accentuate all of the minds and consciousness that's in that moment, and we're going to spread it everywhere for everyone, right? But you guys are absolutely the best. I appreciate all the love. I really, really do. So now we're going to talk about a high level experience, right? This is once we complete our way into those higher realms of the astral plane. This is some of what you might experience. We're going to talk about different layers or different levels. Now, they could be completely different for you. You could have the same ones, but call them something different, right? This is somewhat my description, but I've also looked at a lot of esoteric theory to give me some context into what we're talking about, right? So this is a little mixture of both. But with that esoteric theory, I'm giving you pretty much what I perceive when I get there. I just used esoteric theory to kind of describe it, And basically, the Eastern names commonly used to describe the higher levels are, to the average Western person, fairly meaningless. Higher dimensions, they don't have signposts in them, right? There's nothing that says, welcome to the astral plane, ta-da, or welcome to the mental planes, watch your mind, or welcome to the Buddhic planes, or love one another. None of that. So I've chosen to use my own names for some of them, right? And basically, there's some more extraordinary, more than common physical experiences that happen when we get to these places. I've entered high levels spontaneously through real time and astral plane projections, but normally the use of these high projection level methods is how I get there. And this includes, energy raising, what we just talked about, using some of these techniques. So the first place I want to talk about is the rainbow level. There are astral hospitals. There are places of reconciliation, right? And that's going to be in the next section once we get past these higher levels, because there are places where we go to compound a lot of what we've experienced in the physical and release it to the etherical, right? So the first place is the rainbow level. And if you've entered this level, do not try to rationalize it or understand it, for this is way beyond mere mortal understanding. Just accept what you find there and go with the flow and enjoy it, right? The feel of this is what I believe led the ancient Vikings to name the mythical plane into Asgard, the Rainbow Bridge. It truly looks and feels as if you're waking up in a living rainbow bridge into a spectacular wonderland where it would be easy to imagine the gods must surely dwell. Basically, this exists in wondering amazement. Let loose the child within. Enjoy this fairy wonderland, right? Soaking inspiration from every passing cloud. Everything feels very real and solid here. Time is distorted than in the higher astral dimensions, and reality is fluid like a kaleidoscope and abstract in the extreme. Beneath all this brilliantly colorful and changeable crystalline imagery, there is an enormous feeling of power here. There seems to be a great deal of activity going on everywhere that I look when I'm in this place. I have glimpsed angels, fairies, and other wonderful beings. Some of these appear to be beautiful human looking beings. There's others, I believe, high level spirit entities that have not yet set or recognizable form relating to humanity. Very likely, my mind's eye interprets these energies given off by these beings and giving them form and shape. They don't consist of it themselves. This gives them the beautiful, unworldly appearance that transcends any mere mortal form, encapsulating their beauty essence while retaining a basic human shape that I could relate to. I find meaningful communication with these beings virtually impossible. Tangible, warm feelings of love and understanding flood through me whenever I attempt contact. But an exchange of anything resembling words does not seem possible while operating within this dimensional level. My mind's eye, however, literally uh, basically perceives with multi layered metaphorical imagery, and I'm flooded with intuitive impressions at these times. There appear to be many different planes and levels and realms in this specific area or this level. It is vastly more complex and abstract than even some of the highest of the astral planes themselves. So, this is something that a place that I relatively visit quite a lot now that I've become more experienced with this. So, it's a lot. But again, there's no real words that happen. What it is it's more of feelings, right? It's more of imagery, right? And this imagery becomes a message in many, many different ways. So the next place I call is the mystical level. The mystical level is a beautiful, warm, abstract level filled with utter peace and infinite love. This is a soul deep, motherly patience and fatherly understanding permeate the atmosphere here. This is totally different from any other dimensional level I've ever experienced. It has the visual appearance of beautifully textured, fluffy white clouds. There's no sights or sounds here at all, other than the all prevailing, gently blowing or billowing white fluffiness and a gentle, deep humming beyond sound, almost immutable or inaudible, right? Immutable as well. It's wonderfully soothing and healing. Now, there is no sky or ground, no ups or downs, just beautiful, fluffy white clouds everywhere. And this dimension, you very quickly relinquish conscious thought of individuality and begin melting into the one, into the total and absolute bliss of atonement. Thought is possible here, but the urge and need to think fades very quickly. An irresistible urge draws you deeper into the bliss of total silence and the comforting soul deep rest of infinite love. You cease being old or young, male or female here. Being here is like returning to the universal mother's womb. Once your mind becomes silent, silence becomes you, and you feel as if your mind is immersed in something like warm cotton wool, and you're being cuddled for by your soul mother, and you're surrounded, absorbed, and assimilated by infinite love, understanding, forgiveness, wonderful healing atonement. Just before you lose track of this experience, you will fully realize who you are, the greater you are, but you will never be able to put it into words afterwards, right? It's, it's a special place. Time has no meaning whatsoever here. It has no place here at all. If you enter this world, you will never ever want to leave. It is possible to generate the intention of deliberately wanting to leave this place. You could bask here forever in perfect contentment and happiness, or until all you basically forget about physical body. It drags you back, right? Kicking and screaming. This is, I believe, the healing and resting place of the soul, which it passes through on its long journey of ascension through the spirit of worlds at life's end sometimes, which takes us to the next level, which is the spirit level. So this is a little bit different, this level, right? And when I call it the spirit level, it's because there's a lot going on here. And my journeys and experience here are either in the actual spirit world or possibly in a region bordering it. Here, spirits appear to be waiting for you, their loved ones. This, I have been inspirationally led to believe, is the happy place of the gathering, where the reunion of souls takes place at life's end. I have been to this level only a few rare, precious times. I always see the same basic structure and features, but the events change. The background is purest, brightest silver white, but much brighter than the sun could ever be. Yet it is a supremely gentle light for all of its incredible brightness, very soothing and healing. It seems to me to be the pure light of divine love. The ground is cream colored, smooth, and feels cold and solid underfoot, like polished texture marble. So in front of me always is a large amphitheater like structure about the size of a football field sunk into this creamy rock with gentle slopes on all sides, looking by about several feet deep. Behind is a natural incline rising some 20 feet above the ground. This rises in the middle, spreading out to both sides and then gently sloping away at each side of the amphitheater. The light source comes from behind the rise. I'm usually standing about 20 paces or so from the edge of the amphitheater, facing across the rise on the other side. Usually, about 100 people are spread out all over the amphitheater, often clustered in small groups, appearing just that they were just in like the physical world, but at their it's most magnificent when you see this. They all look younger and fitter, but are fully recognizable. They glow ecstatically with inner light, ablaze with the brightest of love, happiness, and joy imaginable. The atmosphere here is electric and vital, but at the same time deeply spiritual and serious. On this level, you can actually feel a divine presence as a tangible and all pervading force. The natural level of communication here is high level telepathic, metaphorical imaging with empathetic, intuitive underlay. This is similar to the high quality clairvoyance from the clairvoyant side, but is much more powerful than anything I've ever experienced before. Normal speech is super frivolous, right? Time stands utterly still, and reality is surreal but stable, feeling more real than physical dimension. I have entered this dimension only a few rare occasions, each time from the deepest of consciousness raising meditations during what I can only basically say is a mystical out of body experience. Each time I've experienced extreme crown and brow center activity, and on these rare occasions, mystical energy has soared to seemingly impossible heights and consumed me, carrying me by spirit along with it. And at the climax of this deeply mystical experience, I've seen incredible silver white light structures, and this is always a great distance ahead of me and at the very edge of my mind's eye. And I can sense it moving closer. Now, myself talking about this specific place is a little difficult, right? And because I truly believe that this is the way station before heaven, right? There are a few different levels that you reach before heaven. And this is the place of, like, it's like I said, reunion, right? And this reunion is also how some of these entities that are on the other side come to visit us. They take this path to get to us, to give us messaging. And this is one of the most intense levels I've ever been on. Now, there's another level that I've come to, which is very, very close to this level, but I believe it's above this level and the actual door to heaven itself. And this is what I call the pre-heavenly realm. This is where they're getting you ready for transfer into an afterlife of just etherical energy. You're no longer going to go back to your physical body once achieving this level. Now, I don't believe that I've been to this level. I've only seen it from the last level, right? And this, I have never experienced this level, and it's very, very difficult for me to share about it. But this is what I believe is just about the afterlife. And essentially, when you get to the spirit level, you're going to come to a rectangular door. And when you open this rectangular door, on the other side of that door, you will see the pre heavenly realm. And there are angels there. There are those who have already passed and are not coming back through the incarnation cycle. This is what I've seen, and I've never been able to step into that realm. I keep getting imagery that I'm not ready yet. And I don't believe I will be for quite a while, from what I've been told, for what I've been shown more so, but from the messaging. And this level is beyond so much comprehension, right? This level is just incredible, right? I don't know what it holds that level, but I did see it. I didn't get there, but I saw it. So, next episode, we're going to be talking about the entities that reside within the astral realm, right? The Nexus. I have not experienced the Nexus myself. I have I'm not even sure if I've actually witnessed the Nexus. I've seen things that I believe to be the Nexus, but I don't believe that it is at the same time. It could be just my mind's eye kind of projecting into what that would be, right? So at this point, this is tonight's presentation. I hope that you found this very helpful, especially with the techniques. And the astral realm is a curious place. And when we start to perceive these specific realms and we come back to reality, right? Reality becomes a little bit slowed down from those points. And this is why I started the show with the opening salvos of not, metaphorically stopping to smell the roses, but also literally. When we interact with this realm, there is a ton of information to be achieved there as well. The astral realm is very close to the Akashic record, like I told you the last time. And we're going to go over the Akashic records as well, especially in an energetic style, right? And we're going to go dive deep on that side. So totally, it's sort of like a different way to achieve the same thing, which sounds kind of crazy, but the astral realm and the Akashic record are side by side. And a lot of this structuring of the astral realm is not up and down. It's all parallel to each other, right? And it's a beautiful thing when you reach it. We're talking about the nexus. I believe the nexus is outside of our dimension of, how we live within a multi-dimensional reality. Well, when we go to the astral realm essentially is a place that transcends the multiverse. So the nexus is the point at which the multiverse is connected to the astral realm so it can transcend all of those different dimensions that reside on either side of us. This is how, through the nexus, is how we're able to basically interact with ourself from another fractal of ourself from a different reality or a different dimension. This is how we do that, or a way that we can interact with our higher self while in the astral plane. It all happens through meditation, right? So, with all that being said, again, I hope you loved this. I loved listening to this information again after yesterday. I loved listening to that first episode we did, even though it was me talking. I don't like the sound of my own voice, but the information to me seemed like it was very, very relevant, right? And if you don't remember your time in the astral realm, the more times that you try to transverse it, I promise you, the better your memory will get and the more recall you will have. So practice makes perfect. And we're going to do our best to get this information out. Please share this out all over the place. Also, subscribe if you haven't. Leave a comment below after this is finished. We need that to help us beat the algorithm. And I hope everybody has a wonderful evening. And we'll see you all next time. Love you all.